what makes not-for-profits work and what sustains them, it's trust. There's a trust that the community vests in them, that they're going to provide decent services and to do it with a level of quality, safety and integrity. Not-for-profits can focus on the way that they make decisions, that they're ethical decisions, that the governance that they have in their organisations is based on values, which means that then they can make decisions ethically. That's really critical to the effective functioning and the long-term functioning of a not-for-profit and community-based organisation. Good governance and good ethical decision-making, what we're looking for is values-based behaviours, consistency in the adoption of those behaviours. We're looking for a sort of a modelling, and we know that, again, an adage, the behaviour you walk by is the behaviour you accept. So it's not only about modelling good behaviour, it's also about being clear about what's not acceptable behaviour and what are the consequences of poor behaviour. If we think about, say, the CEO, that means that the staff understand what the expectations are within the organisation. The board chair and the CEO need to have a strong and clear relationship and shared values, shared understanding. And around that board table, it's up to the chair to really model and lead what's expected in terms of the decision making based on the purpose of the organisation, the mission of the organisation, good processes and reasonable outcome. But certainly there's a particular onus on the CEO and the chair which doesn't exonerate the rest, because a healthy organisation is going to be one where you've got those behaviours, those values, those expectations in the DNA of the organisation, and having a commitment to your own personal integrity. Then, of course, it's not only that commitment, it actually requires a bit of courage sometimes. I think one of the ways that you can have courage is through collective action, so that you can join others in your community who feel the same. You can have, quiet and not so quiet initiatives. If we really believe in something, finding a way creatively, non-aggressively, to put that view out there.
Ethical infrastructure is the third type of infrastructure a society requires. First, it needs physical infrastructure, roads, bridges, things like that, railways. Secondly, it needs technical infrastructure, internet, all the other things that go with that, communications. And they're the ones that attract all the attention. But ethical infrastructure is the thing that underpins the capacity to build and sustain trust in a society. And without trust, no progress or reform of any kind of healthy type is possible. So within that, think about not-for-profits as being part of the sinew of that ethical infrastructure. It's a point of connection to communities. Most people don't realise that they need three elements. They need values, but they also need principles, because if you don't have principles to balance values, you can go in some very bad directions. Secondly, you need a purpose which explains why those values and principles have been chosen. And here I'm not just talking about something which is inspiring, but quite utilitarian. But the most important thing is to ensure that those values and principles are then embedded in the policies, practices and structures of the organisation. Because too often you've had sincere people in leadership dragging along an organisation where its own people feel that they're hypocrites because they're subjected to policies and practices that drive them to do something completely different. What leaders do is that they impart direction. They don't simply flow, they actually say this is where we're going to go. So what they do through the exercise of constructive subversion is they subvert the unthinking custom and practice that means there is no direction. Too often if you go into an organisation and ask why are we doing this or that, the most common response will be, well, everybody does that, or it's just the way it's always been done. So you've got to have the moral courage and the skills and capacity then to bring that kind of leadership to bear.
Psychological safety is increasingly a term we're hearing about, and I think we're going to hear a lot more about it in leadership and culture conversations over the next decade. So there's a big body of research that's saying in order to have true benefit of diversity, we need to have a psychologically safe environment. Otherwise, people don't feel safe to put their hand up and offer a different opinion. Why is it important in the context of change? Well, psychological safety at its core is this idea that we feel safe to take risks, to be our whole selves, to express opinions, and that mistakes aren't punished in cultures. Now, we think about change. That means constantly having to be bold with our ideas, be prepared to go on journeys where we don't necessarily have the full facts. We're going to try, experiment, iterate. We're going to have to learn. Now, if we do that in an environment where it's not safe to offer an opinion, where it's a career-limiting move to do something where it leads to a mistake, we're not going to be able to get the benefit of any of the change we hope to realise.